Have you ever had that feeling where you're just constantly running a race you didn't even sign up for?
Oh, yeah.
You know, your calendar is just jammed. You've got this endless set of tasks, but then you look back at the end of the month and feel like, well, you've made zero real
It's
progress.
that sensation of being on a mental treadmill.
Exactly. Running flat out, but spending all your energy just reacting to the loudest notification, the latest fire you have to put out.
And that's such a common state in modern life, but it really stands in stark opposition to what the Stoics were teaching us about a life well lived.
How so?
Well, they understood that when you live reactively, you are literally giving away your most valuable asset,
Which is?
your choice. They remind us that the true measure of our existence is not, the sheer quantity of tasks you get done. It's the intent behind them.
So being the author of your life, not just a character reacting to the plot.
That's a perfect way to put it. An intentional life.
That distinction right there, moving from reaction to intent, that's exactly why we're digging into this today. Our whole mission here is to give you the tools to reclaim that power.
Right, and to consciously shift your actions to align with what you actually value.
We're taking our cue from Epictetus here, who said, first tell yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do.
Powerful starting point.
So let's unpack these core practices that can move us off that treadmill and into a life of purpose.
And we really have to begin with the central pillar of Stoicism, which is also the biggest roadblock to intentionality, and that's trying to control the external.
Oh, we are experts at that, aren't we? Externalizing blame.
We really are.
When something goes wrong, it's never really us. It's, the universe conspiring against us, the weather, that rude email from a colleague, the unexpected traffic jam.
Right. All these things that derailed our focus. We feel like victims of circumstance, just waiting for the world to finally cooperate so we can be calm or productive.
Yeah, if only that would happen.
It's a natural feeling. But the Stoics gave us this incredible counterpoint. It's the foundation of all intentional living. They call it the dichotomy of control.
Okay, break that down.
True power isn't in controlling external events. You can't stop the rain, you can't change the past, you certainly can't command your colleague's mood.
Right.
The power lies in controlling how you react to what happens.
So if a delayed flight ruins my day.
The flight didn't ruin your day. Your judgment about the flight did. Reclaiming control over that judgment, well, that's the definition of being proactive.
That sounds great in theory, but for most people, the frustration is instantaneous, the stimulus hits, and boom, immediate anger. How do you practically wedge something between those two things?
Yeah.
Especially when you're exhausted or under pressure. Just saying, be calm, doesn't really cut it.
No, it absolutely requires more than just willpower. It requires preparation.
Preparation.
Yeah. This is where we go deeper than just reaction management. The Stoics practice something called premeditatio malorum.
The premeditation of evils.
Exactly. It means you actually spend time thinking about the worst things that could happen. The flight could be delayed, the colleague could be rude, the client could cancel the deal.
So instead of being blindsided by it, you're almost inoculating yourself against the shock.
That's the perfect word for it. When you premeditate, you ask yourself, if this external thing happens, what is the best internal response I can choose? You're preparing your rational faculty, your proherasis, to handle it with grace before it even arrives.
So the focus shifts from what you can't control to the one thing you can. Your choice.
Precisely.
Okay, let's make that actionable for you listening right now.
Mm-hmm.
Think about a potentially stressful situation you have coming up today. Maybe a big meeting, maybe just a complicated errand.
Mm-hmm.
Pause and ask yourself, what 5 small things could go wrong here? And then, for each one, pre-decide your productive internal response.
So if the coffee line is slow, you've already decided that's 5 minutes for mindful breathing, not 5 minutes of anger.
Right, and that proactive approach, it sets the stage for everything else. When something goes wrong, a project deadline shifts, an unexpected expense pops up, you pause and do that stoic check. Is this truly worth sacrificing my peace of mind over?
Or can I immediately redirect my attention to the next controllable action? The proactive person isn't complaining about the storm. They're already adjusting the sails and checking the navigation.
Okay, so once we've established that internal control, let's talk about how that intentionality plays out in our relationships, in our work.
Right, the social sphere.
Because when we approach a conversation or a negotiation, our default setting is often competitive. We're taught that winning, being right, That's the metric for success.
And what's the residue of that win-lose outcome? It's frustration, resentment, a broken relationship that can't produce anything sustainable. The Stoics were so deeply concerned with communal well-being,
They saw this zero-sum thinking as just flawed.
fundamentally flawed.
And we often equate having more, winning the argument, getting the most resources with success. But Seneca offered this powerful corrective. He said, "What good is it? How much you have. What you do not possess means much more."
He was pointing toward relational wealth. The real measure of success is not about taking more for yourself, but about creating the maximum shared value for everyone involved.
And that is the win-win mindset.
It is. It requires a fundamental shift in perspective. Instead of seeing the other person as an obstacle to your success, you view them as an essential resource for creating a better outcome than either of you could get alone.
But let's be honest here. In the real world, that's a beautiful ideal that often just crashes against human nature. What do you do when the person you're dealing with is aggressively competitive, purely self-interested, and just refuses to play ball?
That's a crucial question. The win-win mindset doesn't require the other person to be a saint. It requires you to maintain your proactive, principled stance.
So it's about what I control.
It always is. First, understand that win-win is not about sacrificing your own needs. It's about finding a solution that works for both parties. And if you can't find that solution,
Then the answer might be no deal.
it might be to gracefully exit the negotiation or redefine the terms. The win for you might just be protecting your own values and peace of mind, even if it means walking away.
I see. So you control your intent, and your intent is to create value, not to be exploited.
Exactly. But, often the biggest barrier to creating that shared value is our own ego.
We want the validation of being right.
We do.
Yeah.
And Epictetus just nailed this. He said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows."
So good.
To even engage in win-win, you have to set the ego aside and genuinely listen to understand the other person's constraints and needs. You're looking for congruence, not just agreement.
So practically speaking, how do we make that shift happen?
It starts with reframing the conversation before it even begins. Instead of walking in asking, "How can I secure my goals?" you ask, "What's the best possible outcome for the whole system here? For the team, for everyone involved?"
You practice empathy.
Not as a soft skill, but as a strategic necessity. Try to really understand their situation, their fears, their priorities. When you're transparent about your own core needs, you create the trust needed to find a solution.
Where maybe my priority, which might be time and efficiency, doesn't actually conflict with their priority of stability and thoroughness.
And suddenly you're on the same side of the table looking at the problem together.
Yeah, okay. So building on that concept of win-win, we get to the next level of collaborative success, which is synergy.
Right.
This is where the combined result is truly greater than the sum of the parts. Recognizing that other people's strengths, and I think crucially their different viewpoints, create opportunities for a real breakthrough growth.
Synergy is the pinnacle of cooperation,
Hmm.
but it requires a kind of radical vulnerability and two distinct elements that the Stoics really emphasized.
And the first is...
Humility. We already touched on it, but it's admitting you don't have all the answers. Seneca reminds us that no one is beyond learning from another. Humility opens the door. It gives other people the psychological space to bring their best, even their most challenging ideas forward.
And the second element is trust, which to me feels like the biggest leap. You have to be willing to place a part of your outcome, maybe your reputation, in someone else's hands.
That's right. And that trust is built on the Stoic virtue of justice.
Justice.
For the Stoics, justice wasn't just, legal stuff. It was about social fairness, treating people with respect, recognizing their value as part of the human community. When you approach interactions with that sense of justice, you're transparent and fair, and that naturally fosters trust.
Okay, so let's use a tangible example here. A team is trying to solve a complex logistics problem. If the leader insists on only their solution, there's no synergy. But if that leader practices humility and invites the finance person, the sales rep, the engineer to contribute their unique perspectives, even if those perspectives conflict, the final solution is probably going to be way more robust.
Exactly, because they've synthesized three competing viewpoints. And the key to fostering that synergy on a daily basis is communication, specifically active listening.
Which is not just waiting for your turn to talk.
No. It is resisting the urge to judge or dismiss an idea prematurely. You have to genuinely explore the other person's viewpoint and ask yourself, what is the strength in this idea that I am currently missing.
I think we often see disagreement as obstacles, a fight to be won. But what I'm hearing is that the disagreement itself is the raw material for synergy.
That's the mindset shift. View disagreements as collaborative puzzles to be solved together. If you can approach a challenge with genuine curiosity, seeking to integrate the best parts of conflicting ideas, that's where you get that 1 + 1 = 3 outcome.
Okay, let's pivot now to the practice that sustains all of this, self-renewal.
Yes, the foundation.
Because we can talk about proactivity, win-win, and synergy all we want, but if we just push ourselves until we crash, the whole system fails. We've all felt burnout, that mental fog, the fatigue, the reduced concentration.
It really feels like trying to cut wood with a dull axe.
Perfect analogy.
You're putting in maximum effort for minimal return. The Stoics saw this fatigue not as a moral failing, but as a severe warning sign that you're living out of alignment with nature. You have to care for the tools you use, your mind, your body, your focus.
So the sources break this renewal down into 4 dimensions. Let's start with the physical dimension.
The physical is the foundation. And it's not about health fads, it's about discipline maintenance. The body is the vehicle for your rational choice, your prohäresis. If you neglect quality sleep, exercise, nutritious eating, you undermine your ability to think clearly.
And manage your reactions.
For the Stoics, controlling your appetites, including the urge to overwork or neglect your health, was a rational duty, not some luxury. If your body breaks down, your ability to live intentionally breaks down with it.
Then we have the mental dimension. And in our modern world, we are grounding in noise. Emails, notifications, the 24/7 news cycle. It seems like mental renewal is less about gathering information and more about defending the mind.
Absolutely. It's about sharpening the mind while also protecting it from overload. So that means engaging with inspiring, challenging, material reading books that force you to think deeply, mastering new skills, and crucially, practicing reflective thinking.
Like Marcus Aurelius.
Exactly. The Stoics valued that time spent reviewing the day, examining their judgments without distraction. You have to schedule time for thought just as seriously as you schedule time for meetings.
Okay, next up is the emotional dimension. Our emotional energy is finite, right? And it can be so easily drained by toxic environments or even our own internal critic.
Right. So emotional renewal is about nurturing strong relationships, remembering that humans are social animals who need connection. And maybe surprisingly, it's about practicing a kind of rational self-kindness.
Not indulgence.
Not indulgent, practical maintenance. We have to forgive our past mistakes so it can focus our emotional energy on the present and the future. Investing time in relationships that recharge you is not optional. It is a rational requirement for a healthy life.
And finally, the dimension that connects all the others, the spiritual. And this is often misinterpreted, isn't it?
It is. For the Stoics, the spiritual dimension was about aligning your internal actions with the larger order of things, living in harmony with what they called physis, or nature, which they saw as the rational structure of the universe.
So finding your purpose.
It means defining your purpose and making sure your daily work actually serves that purpose. If you don't know why you're doing what you're doing, you will quickly find yourself right back on that reactive treadmill.
Chasing urgent but meaningless tasks. So the final challenge to you, the listener, is essential. When was the last time you truly stopped the machine and gave yourself space for that kind of reflective thinking?
That pause is the maintenance. It's what sustains the proactive, synergistic life we've been talking about.
So we've journeyed from reactive living to taking back control with proactivity.
We focused on shared value with the win-win mindset, leveraged others' strengths through synergy.
And finally, we talked about maintaining our capacity for all of it through intentional self-renewal.
Intentional living isn't some utopian ideal. It's a series of, frankly, difficult, deliberate actions.
Drawn from timeless Stoic wisdom that help you move toward the life you're actively seeking, one proactive choice at a time.
So before you rush off to your next meeting or tackle that big project on your list, think about this idea of self-renewal. Ask yourself this: are you spending your time today focusing on the most urgent thing in front of you? Or are you prioritizing the one thing that will genuinely make the tool, your mind, your body, your relationships, sharper and more capable for tomorrow? Keep reflecting on that, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.